Over there! Fire! Look there, to your right. Again! The haze parts, and that figure, tall, stocky, and terrifying, was now nowhere to be seen. As big as a bear and twice as deadly, it had now vanished. Speaking through the fog and smoke, the man at the front speaks first. "Sir, the shadows. I've no sight of them. It's gone." Another continues. "How are we to find anything in this murk?" And the man beside him yells as well. "Who's to say we aren't shooting our own men? Keep your guns ready." Fitzjames dismissed. His voice was stained with the touch of desperation. His lips were frozen, cracked, slightly bleeding. He sucked up some blood and savoured the iron in his mouth. God, how he missed the taste of food. "If we do not kill it, it will hunt us down to the last man. Don't forget it," he explained. "We finish this here and now." The search group continued on in silence, with only the gale speaking any words between them. Deeper they went, into the snow. Their rifles were held high and firm, with every man trying to pick out ghosts from their surroundings. The hail ate at their strength and their vision. Was it a lost cause, searching for monsters in the dark? Were they mere children, prancing foolhardily in its lair? In their minds, however, they knew they would have their revenge, for those already lost, whose bones would not return to England. The tension was cut suddenly as a scream broke from far behind. The squad turns in panic. Hickey's voice? Irving's squad, though it was hard to tell. They could see the glow of the other group's lantern in far distance. They strained their ears against the scream of the wind. And out went the light. Fitzjames turned back towards his men and raised his arm. "Irving, we must help them," he commanded. "Go. Quick march." And the group was off. The gang trudged their way through the crumpled snow, knowing nothing good was at its end. The way was dark and rough. It had been 4 months since the sun had last risen on the horizon, and were it not for the soft glow of Fitzjames's lantern, the darkness could have swallowed them whole. Navigation was a Herculean effort. The only landmark of which they could maneuver themselves was the glow of their far-off ship, the Terror, sat lopsided and encased in its sarcophagus of ice in the distance. Its faint oil lamps were their only guiding light, their only haven in this frozen wasteland. The men turned an icy ridge, and the horror of the scene was suddenly and immediately upon them. They all gave a sudden gasp. "What manner of beast could have done this?" cried one of them. Fitzjames decided it better not to respond. The ground was red and wet, the still warm insides of what was once a sailor. Torn rags and smashed meat were strewn all across the ice with reckless abandon. This death was brutal and fast. The gun on the floor had not yet even been fired. It was impossible to not react. Behind him, Fitzjames could hear his posse retching in disgust. He stilled himself and braced his nose with some snuff from his pocket. He went down to investigate. Modus operandi. The bones had been rendered from the corpse in a brutal way. serrated from ligaments by some immense blade or claw. His boot just narrowly misses the shards of broken glass from the poor man's lantern. The corpse's face was too mangled to make out an identity, though he saw peeking out from the pocket of his coat the man's Bible. He took it gently and found its owner's initials in the case. C.H. Cornelius Hickey, 66th death of the expedition. He shook his head. A noise. Something at the edge of the light's perimeter. The men are at once alert, fear coursing through their veins. It's a large black silhouette. Its arms are long and its posture is hunched over. Is it injured? It's coming closer, groaning a hellish sound. It is like agony. Every man feels fear running through their whole body. Fitzjames shoots up. His blood is cold. His breath is fast. It's returned! Men at arms! They fumble for their rifles. Their hands are sweaty. The creature gets closer. It's almost upon them now. It's gurgling demonically. It reaches its arms outwards. Shoot it! God! Someone shoot it! The thing stumbles to its knees, letting out a tremendous groan as it does so. The men's guns are empty. Desperately, they try to attempt to reload. Not taking his chances, Fitzjames looks around in a panic. Below him, the gun! He reaches for the bloody thing and centers it on the shape. It only takes a second. He lines it up. It lurches over and falls to the floor. The men finish reloading quickly and take aim as well. Their eyes are glued to the thing, waiting. A moment, two, until they were sure it was not moving anymore. They then creep tentatively towards it. The lantern illuminates their kill. It was John Irving, 3rd Lieutenant. It looked like he was already slightly wounded previously by some lacerations to his stomach, but now he had some grazing shots to his thighs. It was, however, though, the hole in the centre of his chest that seemed to have killed him. His face was one of pain, the 67th death of the expedition. Men gathered around the corpse in a circle and fell silent, taking off their hats in respect. Fitzjames' face drew a dark shadow, and he dropped the gun, standing still as stone. The night would last another 2 months. 2 cold, dark months. In the sky above them, the spirits of the aurora danced ballet for the gods. The dark tome, known as the Malleus Chimera, indexes a plethora of secrets intentionally hidden from the sane and rational. Posses, esoteric knowledge, astrological charts, and crypto bestiaries are but a few of the subjects covered in its many pages. Page 347 sheds some light on the ghoulish entities encountered by the Franklin expedition on that day, known as the Bonemen. Described as hideous pale humanoids, it is thought that Bonemen are a primeval lineage in the genus Homo. Though possessing many traits seen in humans, they contain a multitude of unnatural adaptations that set them well apart. When standing completely upright, Boneman is a terrifying 12 feet tall, though they tend to sit at a slouch, at around 6 feet tall at the shoulder. The majority of its size is taken up by its large trunk-like body, which is shaped and weighted similarly to that possessed by a polar bear. Its skin is tacky and semi-translucent, with visible veins and arteries seen just below the surface. Notably, all bone men drag around their perforated, gooey entrails, still slick with gore and viscera. Though it may seem like this is some horrific injury, it may in fact be some genetic phenomena, as has been observed in almost all specimens. Though there is natural variation in length and number by case. The opening in its stomach, however, is always present, and is used by the bone men for storing items for transport. Its head is characterized by a heavy brow, more pronounced than that of a Neanderthal, that all but shades its eyes. Below this, it has a dual-jawed mouth, similar to that of a snake, allowing it to consume prey many times larger than its face would suggest. Atop its head is a peculiar pillar-like organ, giving it a striking silhouette. Its true use, however, is unknown. This organ, when dissected, has been shown to have a honeycomb-like structure within it, filled to the brim with brilliant blue ichor, with a similar consistency to sperm whale oil. The Malleus Chimera specifically states that this matter can be consumed to induce an expanded consciousness state in those that partake, but is almost unbelievably addictive. The eater will, quote, inevitably become more and more detached from the physical world the more they consume, describing the experience as spiritual liberation, unquote. Not many can survive a year on even a microdosage, and many feel compelled to consume as much as possible to achieve some goal. The old bone man culture is generally unknown to humans, but some pieces of knowledge have been traded for with paranormal archivists. Bone men as they appear now have been markedly changed in the millions of years since their species' zenith. Long ago, when Earth was much warmer than today, the bone men existed as less horrific semi-humans in what is now northern Canada. Their people built great palaces, temples, and megaliths out of imported black stone, which served towards their species' enlightenment goals. They were very connected to the spirit world, and their priests would routinely gather and perform great communal astral projections, numbering thousands of minds, to commune with and sacrifice themselves to beings beyond the firmament for great boons. At some point, however, there was a marked shift in bone man society, and a dominant cult began to assert itself within their hierarchy. Coinciding with the commencement of the last great ice age, finite resources and desperation manifested in an unfair pact being made with an incorporeal entity known as the Chained God. This being ensured the survival of their species, even as their fields turned to tundra and their cities froze under glaciers, but they survived at a terrible cost. Their souls were ripped from their bodies and withheld until a debt could be paid. They would remain in the spiritual world with their benefactor, whilst their physical remains would be twisted and gnarled and placed undying in special sarcophagi all over their old remnant cities. Mindless, their bodies would be forced to leave their tombs and wander the Arctic plains for eternity, searching for marrow inside the bones of sentient beings to bring back and feed the chained god's physical form, his favourite meal. It is unknown what the souls of the bone men think as European explorers send yet more fresh meat to their doom. Maybe they feel sympathy to the tortured pains of men screaming as their bones are ripped from their bodies. Or maybe they delight in every life taken, knowing that it brings them ever closer to returning to their world and paying off their race's bloody interest.